Now, back to McGraw in the Morning on the Big 550 KTRS. This hour is presented by Collier & Thompson Kitchen and Bath. Visit them today at collierandthompson.com.
They're almost finished with the Freedom Tower in New York, and yet word came late last week that, believe it or not, they found a piece of one of the plane's landing gear that flew into the World Trade Center, and believe it or not, they found it by that mosque that created so much controversy a couple of years ago. Aaron Katersky is in New York. Aaron, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
McGraw, good morning. This is really captivated the city that, almost 12 years later, there can still be pieces, remnants of 9/11, or at least what's really believed to be a remnant of 9/11, found about 4 blocks from Ground Zero. And you're quite right, at the site of that proposed Muslim community center, which really hasn't, by the way, ever gotten off the ground following the political controversy that surrounded an election. And now they're trying to figure out what the heck it is. Boeing engineers have taken a look, and they think it's actually from the wing. Same hydraulics as a landing gear, but from a piece that controls the flaps. And so they think it's from the wing of a 767, but they don't know. They assume it's from 9/11, but they don't know whether it's United 175 or American Flight 11.
Are they convinced that it's from either one of those planes, or they still can't?
That's the strong likelihood. There doesn't seem to be any other reason why a piece of a plane's wing would be, wedged somewhere near the World Trade Center site. So they're all but convinced and all but certain. It's just a matter of trying to figure it out. I mean, the piece is from a 767. It's Boeing. Identification number is clearly visible. Boeing engineers think it's from a 767. Whether they'll actually be able to figure out which one, that remains to be seen. Today, the medical examiner's office is going to search around the narrow alleyway where it was found by just somebody doing an inspection, and they're going to test for human remains.
Where was it found in this alleyway?
So it's in the back of, New York City construction, and the buildings are right up close to each other, and there is just a tiny wedge of a space between the back of a building on Park Place and the back of a building on Murray Street. The two buildings kind of almost butt up against each other, and wedged in there was this 5-foot by 3-foot piece, metal chunk, and it was discovered by a surveyor who was hired by one of the property owners to do an inspection, and he said that the guy who found it said, "Geez, it occurred to me this is a piece of a murder weapon."
Wow. Now, when you say they're going to look for human remains, they're just sort of thinking. I mean, what's their thinking behind trying to look in that alley?
Well, they've been doing this periodically over the last 12 years. In fact, there's an operation going on right now where they sift debris at a landfill that was taken from the World Trade Center site to try to get any fragments that could be used to formally identify victims. Remember, about half of 9/11 victims have still not been formally identified because, the remains, the force of the energy that was released on those planes crashed and when the buildings went down was so incredible that many of the human remains were simply blown apart. Not to get too graphic, but they've been able to find fragments periodically and use those fragments against the latest in DNA testing technology to actually give the family members some peace of mind that they found at least a fragment of their relatives to bury. And so if there's any fragments that might be near this plane part, they want to find them.
Yeah. Aaron, they're almost finished with that Freedom Tower, aren't they?
They are. It's getting there. We were just up there the other day, up on the 100th floor, which was incredible. And they're about to they were supposed to do it yesterday, but the weather didn't cooperate. They're going to put the spire, this gigantic antenna, on top of the thing, and that'll be what makes it the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. So they're getting ready to put that piece into place, and it's still on track to be open by 2014.
Aaron, switch to Boston here real quick for us. We heard one of your reports this morning saying that they found some DNA on the bomb. What's that story?
Yeah, they found the DNA of a woman on one of the bomb fragments. Now, how significant this ultimately is, it could be any woman. It could be somebody, from a victim. It could be somebody who handled one of the components innocently, like a store clerk who, say, sold the pressure cooker, or it could be, an accomplice. So they're trying to figure it out, and they want to take DNA samples from Catherine Russell, Tamerlan Tsarnaev's wife. There's also about, a dozen other people that they're kind of people of interest that they'd like to talk to. And, by finding this female DNA, it kind of widens the net a little bit, but it's still not clear whether it's ultimately going to be a useful piece of evidence.
Right. Have they raised money for that guy's new boat yet? How is that campaign going?
He is just a prince of a guy, and he's asked that any money raised for his boat be given to the One Fund, that fund that's being used to help victims' families with some of their long-term medical care costs. And he says, other people lost limbs. He just lost a boat, so don't worry about me.
How about that? Aaron Katersky covering both the World Trade Center news and Boston for us this morning. Aaron, thanks for checking in. Have a good day.
You too, pal.
8:27 here on the Big 550 KTR.